Hey guys, welcome back to our newest project, the 2000 Honda CBR929RR. You guys saw, if you watched the video on how we got it diagnosed and fixed and running, and yes, it ran fantastic, so it was a heck of a deal. Now, as I said before, with the extra money, we're going to do some more modifications to it since we have a little bit more in the budget. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to be painting the frame. I'm going to be using the VHT roll bar chassis paint. It's a satin paint. I might go back and gloss over it if I choose to go that route. But this is just going to basically do the frame, the subframe, and the rear swing arm is going to be the main things that get painted with this. Just to give it a little bit better detail with whatever color we decide to paint and give it a little bit more modern look. So follow along. I'm going to show you guys how to paint this bike and how to transform the look of it. Alright guys, so here we have all the panels off. We're getting ready to kind of break everything down and sand it down and prep it. I want to show you kind of what I've used. I'm sure there's plenty of other channels you can get better information as far as bodywork than mine. But I will say that this has worked for me in the past. I've painted several cars and motorcycles, so take it with a grain of salt, I guess, what it's worth. But we are going to start off by sanding everything down. I like to start with like a 220. I like the sponges personally, especially on rounded surfaces. It works a lot better. And then when we're done doing the rough sand, there's a finer one that we do. And once you've used this for a minute, it actually gets really fine and works really, really well. So that'll get us down to where it's ready to actually be wiped down and then prime. You'll see you'll have some areas where maybe on the tank you're down to bare metal. You want to use a self-etching primer, which allows the paint to stick to metal. And then you'll want to use what I call basically a fillable sander. A fillable primer. And what that does, that kind of fills in some of the finer scratches and stuff from maybe if you didn't get all the perfect scratches out here and there. So that's kind of what I do as far as priming. And because this paint job is going to be a multicolor paint job, we need a base coat of black. I go ahead and use a black sealer primer. So that helps me use less layers of base black. And after that's done, I will be putting on a layer of urethane base clear in the all black base. So then of course we do our pearl layers and our clear coat. So we'll get into that. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and we are going to sand these panels down and get them prepped and ready so we can start painting. Alright, there you have it guys. The panels are all sanded down. Majority of what I used was the foam pads again. I did have an orbital sander that allowed me to get some of the bigger flatter areas which were really only a couple of the panels. So they're all sanded now. I got to wipe them down and clean them and get them ready for primer. The biggest pain was the tank. It actually had been spilled upside down and painted before and had all the paint peeling back here, so it was really a lot of work getting it sanded and down and ready because that's kind of your main piece of the bike. So these things are all ready. Next step is going to be to get the floor prepped and some curtains hung, and we're going to spray the primer coat. Alright, so we put the primer on. Came out pretty good. There was a couple iffy areas that didn't mix well with the reducer, which was supposed to be acetone, which with Sherwin-Williams Auto Paint, I can never win with them people. I don't understand their products. Anyhow, there's a couple areas you'll see where the acetone completely separated itself, and when I tilted the gun, it was on top. Kind of, I guess, I don't know if that'd be orange peel, what you'd want to call it, where it kind of separated, but that's fixable. That's okay. Not a big problem. In fact, the other good thing is now you'll be able to see some marks that were on the body plastics that we wouldn't have saw before, like those right there. So, not a big deal. The other thing that kind of is bothering is, if you can see, it's not black, it's dark gray. So, I don't know why it's called black primer, but call it what it is. So anyways, the panels are sprayed. We'll have a couple touch-up spots, not a big deal. We'll get those sanded and ready to go. The next step is going to be getting ready to shoot them to paint, and I'm going to go over the gun that I use and basically what I like and what I've used before that I kind of liked better. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to do today is basically show you how I paint things and how I have been successful in the past of painting cars and motorcycles and things of that nature. I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I do it? I'm not a professional painter, but I'm going to show you how I do it and what works for me. So follow along and we'll kind of run through this real quick. Just FYI, this is not a how-to paint video. Like I said, if you want a how-to paint video, go ask a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm just showing you what works for me and what could possibly work for you in maybe a smaller space or an area like your garage where you cannot or don't have access to a paint booth. So for starters, the idea is you got to keep everything clean. So if you'll see that I put drop cloths on everything. The drop cloths I use can be found at Home Depot or Lowe's or pretty much anywhere. It's a 10 by 20 drop cloth. And because my garage is 20 feet long, it allows me to pretty much cover everything. I spend a lot of money on the floors, so I don't want to screw those up by getting paint on them. Your other basically option or alternative option would be to blow the floor that you have out and then just spray water all over it. Because if you're worried about paint sticking, it won't stick to the water, it will rinse right off. So that's another option. I do also cover everything, all sides around. Today I don't because I'm not doing a car. I don't have as much mass to spray. Motorcycles are a little bit different, a little bit more annoying because you got to spread parts all over the place, where a car is just kind of big and straight down the middle. The idea of all this is not just to not get paint on other things, it's not to get junk and what they call trash or dust and dirt inside the paint. So you kind of want to blow out as much as you can of that before you start all this. So anyhow, step one is we cover everything with drop cloth. Next, what we do is I put the garage door up just enough to cover my box fan as an exit exhaust fan, and I use cardboard all the way through to block everything like debris, leaves and stuff like that coming in. And then on top of that, while this exit fan is blowing all the paint out, we don't want it to blow on cars and stuff, so I just put a cheapo $1 air filter in front of it, and it catches all the paint. It does a really good job. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. Let's talk about what I use and what's worked for me in the past as far as supplies. So I use Sherwin-Williams paint. It's a base clear urethane base. This is their dimensions level. It's the cheaper level. I actually like it better than the more expensive level. I've had better luck with it, at least for me. What we'll be doing with this will be our base. It's a black base. We have actually decided to do a flip-flop paint job. It goes from blue to purple. And then we'll have another video on the decals we put over top of that. But this is the base. It's I think it's a 2-to-1 reducer. Yeah, 2-to-1 reducer. So basically 2 parts paint, 1 part reducer. We're going to spray that base black on, and then we're going to do a mid coat of pearl clear. Now for the clear, I use their Finish FC 710 or 720, depending on which one you use. This is also a urethane clear. So this will be mixed with a hardener, which is our catalyst right here. The other option you can use that I really like, and if you're doing small projects, I could have on the motorcycle if I wasn't doing a pearl, if I was doing just a clear, are these spray cans. They're like 20 bucks a piece, but man, they do an absolute phenomenal job of spraying clear. Like, way better than a gun, for me at least, because I'm not professional. So that's what I use. Pretty much any reducer for me in the past has worked. You just got to make sure that your paint layers are cured with, whatever your curing period is going to be between them, so they don't activate each other and you have any kind of paint lifting or anything like that. As far as the gun that I use, this one's from Harbor Freight. This is actually the more expensive model. I think it was like 100 some bucks. They have some higher end ones. I don't see a big difference between the guns, and I'll be honest with you, they used to have a purple one. It was the cheapest HLVP that they sold. I'm sorry, HVLP. It was the cheapest one they sold. It was purple, and it was, in my opinion, better than this. It was like $16 or something stupid, but they have since replaced that with an even cheaper model because I think they knew what they had, so they figured it out. And I think this is actually, internals have replaced that purple one. But either way, whatever works for you. A lot of professional people tell you it's about getting the gun set up and knowing how to use it rather than the gun itself. I'm not a professional. In my opinion, you just got to get it set up and get it spraying right on a test piece of cardboard or maybe your clear mat or whatever, so you can make sure you're spraying smoothly. But that is the gun I use. A couple tips I can give you. I use these disposable cups so I don't have to mix paint or clean it out between bases and clears. I also use this unit right here as a regulator, and it also gets rid of moisture in it. And that said, on moisture, you want to make sure that all the moisture in your tank is gone. So if you have a large tank like this, and this is a 60 gallon, you'll want to drain that lower plug right there to get any kind of rust water, nasty moisture out of there. Make sure, as a note too, that you do drain drain the air first. Don't leave any more than 20 psi in there, because that thing will shoot out like a bullet and it'll scare the heck out of you. Continuing on with the product, so again, this was the gun, again, HVLP, and that stands for high volume, low pressure. So the idea is that you're pushing a lot of paint with not using a lot of pressure. It's kind of weird too, I don't know the answer to this, but a lot of times you might buy a gun like this and it might say a max of 28 psi, but your paint might be calling for 55 psi. I don't know why that is or how that works. All I can tell you is you need to adjust your fan and adjust your levels accordingly. So you're going to spraying a smooth spray, just like you would in a spray paint can, but with a wider basically a wider spray. So a few basics on this. This is going to be the flow control of how much fluid goes through the gun. This here is your fan, so how wide it sprays. For bigger panels, like on a car, you want a real wide panel. In my opinion, for smaller things like motorcycles, I do a medium size fan. That way it gives better coverage on certain areas. And then at the bottom, this is how much volume of air is going to be coming through. And then you have your regulator deregulated even further. So that's the stuff that I use. What we're going to do now is we're going to get back to this. We're going to start spraying. I obviously can't spray with the camera for obvious reasons, but I'm going to spray the base. I will let you guys see how that turned out. Then we'll do the the mid coat and then the clear. Stick around. All right, guys, here you can see the base coat. It turned out pretty good. Not too much imperfections I can see. There's a couple like that right there, very few, and that just means that there was something on top of the paint that it could be a fingerprint, it could be anything, but so far it's coming out pretty good. So no complaints yet. We're getting ready to spray that mid coat base pearl. All right, so the mid coat and the clear coat are on. And speaking of the clear coat, I decided not to do a straight clear. Since the pearl was so minimal in the mid coat, I just did 2 coats of mid coat, which really there's no difference. They just say you should typically put a clear coat over top of it. But check it out. Out of everything, there's only 2 runs. Got 1 there, all because of second coat. Actually 3. Got 1 there. And a little one on this side right here. So not so bad as far as runs. That could be wet sanded out and buffed out, so not a big deal. But the color effect, if you can see it, is absolutely cool. He doesn't really pick it up, it just looks blue. It's not really showing the purple, but it's super purple. Like, it looks really good. So what did I use altogether? As far as the 2 mid coats, this is what it looks like when it's mixed up. It's not as clear as it originally was. I've got 10 ounces left. I actually mixed up a whole cup. It was 28 ounces to the top. So I only used 18 ounces for 2 pretty heavy clear coats. And it turned out really, really good. Here is the pigment that I used. And it is supposed to be a purple, blue to red. I don't really see the red so much, but the purple to blue is really strong in person. So, total cost, I mean, I'm gonna say this was right around 200 bucks, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a link in the description below for basically anything that I can find that I can attach for you guys to be able to buy. I don't know what this would cost to have done at a paint shop, but I can tell you the last time I had a bike painted was many years ago, and it was at a car dealership in the back, and like the guys did it on the side, and I spent 500 bucks just for the copper, orange, gold, pearl, whatever it used to be was cool back in the early 2000s. 500 bucks I paid, and that was a steal because I called around and people were saying 12 to 1500. This, couple days worth of easy work really, and a couple $100 bucks, and you're good to go. And really, I could have painted this whole thing twice. So, you know, that's what you get for the price. But like I said, I'll try to link anything I can in. I don't think I can link things from Sherwin-Williams' website, but I'll see if I can find a similar website with the same product that you guys can purchase. So, happy to say there's not a whole lot of trash in it. You see a couple little tiny flakes. Like I said, when you wet sand and buff that out though, you're not going to see any of that. So it'll all be gone. So that's it. The next video you're going to see, you are going to see the bike all together, and we are going to be putting the graphics or decals on it.
1 pair of pants later.
Alright guys, there it is. It's all finished. Our project CBR929RR. Just to recap on what we did on this bike, we did a Chameleon Paint Job. It's supposed to flip from blue to purple to red. In this distance, I don't really see any red. I do see a lot of the blue to purple, as you can kind of see right there. Kind of a really cool effect, really cool in person. I've never painted something like that before, so I was really surprised how well that turned out. As far as the graphics were something that I came up with on my own, just designing something on the computer. Just something a little bit different that you haven't seen before. In fact, it looks, at least on my camera, almost like a weird yellow. That's actually fluorescent yellow with a white accent color. So in person, it looks really, really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post a before and an after picture so you guys can see the differences of the bike as it's kind of transformed. I did like the old design of it. However, the former owner did paint it with spray paint, so it had to be repainted because gas got on it and destroyed the whole side of it. So that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not already, subscribe down below, and we'll have more content coming to you soon enough. Thanks for watching.